Today I'd like to welcome you to our first book story, a series that looks at the stories behind the Windale books you know and love. As part of Leon Hale's 100th year celebration, we're beginning with his 12 books. We'll tell you a story about the book's beginnings, and then Leon Hale will read an excerpt. We're going to begin with his first book, which is entitled Turn South at the Second Bridge. First books are hard when it comes to getting them published. You can ask anyone about that. But the truth is that first books are harder for some of us than for others. Leon Hale's first book, Turn South at the Second Bridge, came out in 1965, and he tells me that it would never have happened if it weren't for a fellow named George Fearman. George was a longtime fellow columnist at the Houston Post. He'd written two very well-known books about Texas, Land of the Big Rich and The Reluctant Empire, and he had an established relationship with a New York publisher. So when Hale had the idea of making a book out of the interviews he'd done with unusual characters in Texas, he approached George for some advice. George liked the idea, and so he just wrote his own editor and told him about it. And that editor turned the letter over to a lady named Maggie Cousins, a fellow editor, who had edited a number of Texas books, then and subsequently. And she asked Hale for an outline, a book outline. Hale had really never seen a book outline. The only outlines he knew were the kind that we did in school, Roman numeral 1, A, B, C, and so forth. And so that's what he sent her. He outlined the entire book with Roman numerals. It is not recorded what she said when she received that, but he got a small advance to write the book, and he proceeded to do so, and he missed the deadline. This was the period when, in addition to the column, he was driving to Huntsville twice a week to teach a course at Sam Houston. So his schedule was tight. Anyway, when he missed the deadline, he thought everything was over. But he went ahead and finished the book and sent it. And when she received it, she got back in touch with him and thanked him for making his deadline. Apparently, newspaper deadlines and book deadlines are quite different. And he didn't know that then. The vanishing way of life that Hale chronicled in this book, Turn South at the Second Bridge, has become folklore. It's still a wonderful book. It gets reader compliments all the time. It's, as you see, is in his third edition, and it's available, as many of his books are, from Windale Books.
I like the beach best in winter. People don't understand that sometimes, since the Gulf Shore is to them so obviously a summer place, so they don't go to the beach in winter, and that's why they don't understand. Take a city like Galveston, which is a summer city to most folks, and I'm happy they like to do their surfing and their sun roasting there in the hot months, because that leaves it all to me in the winter. Give me a miserable, dark, and cold day to visit Galveston. That's when I like to poke along the beach, where the sun worshippers frolic in the summer. Everything is different in winter. Even the seagulls behave differently. They sit around on the seawall in quiet, ruffled groups, remind me of a bunch of old cows waiting by the fence for somebody to come feed them. Permanent people along the beachfront take off their summer masks and have time to talk to you and be friendly. They make their money in summer and do their living in winter. It's tough to find genuineness on the beach in July. It's easier in January when the beach people and the fishermen and the tugboat captains all sit around in dim spots, sipping suds and running their lives by again, enjoying the things that happen even more than the day they actually happen.